Um, got that, Nat? I've always felt like I don't really belong. Um, I don't really bring much to the table. Like I'd go to events and I'd meet up with friends, and I'd always feel like, does my opinion even matter? Wanting to share how I feel and share my opinion, and just not feeling like I can. Comparing myself to friends, comparing myself to other families, just feeling like I don't connect with anybody. And that's really, really hard. It's really, really hard to be in that space when you've got friends and you've got family, because how can you speak to them about it?
Mm.
You know, how can you say, I'm feeling really lonely? You know, I've shared before and they've said, but you've got me. And then you don't want to offend them. Like, yeah, I've got you, but I don't know what I need, but I need something else. Finding my purpose as well, finding, feeling that I've, I'm made for something else. So no matter what I do, I'm not feeling fulfilled because I'm trying to search for that purpose. Searching for your purpose can feel like a lonely place. That's my own personal experience. And how I came into the loneliness work was actually through lockdown, because doing all these things, becoming busy, trying to fill my time, trying to search for this purpose, that purpose. Should I be a fireman? Should I be a PT? Should I be an accountant? I like this, I like that. And then actually having everything taken away from you, my business and everything, sitting by myself, realizing that actually loneliness is my purpose. So my pain has become my purpose. Where lockdown happened, I delved a lot into my own personal discovery, my own self-discovery, personal development, working with a coach, realizing a lot of the things that I was saying to myself was keeping me in a certain place. Unpicking myself and realizing that actually I can change my life. I can change how I feel. So I've become really passionate about the subject, and I now want to help others. So that is my journey. I try to condense it, but I feel like I've just gone around in loads of little circles.
No, you haven't. You've explained that so well. And I think even because we only met, what, 4 years ago,
Yeah.
coming up to 4 years ago. It's gone quickly actually.
In
Um,
lockdown.
but even like the journey that you've been on since I've met you has been
Mm.
like mental. I was going to say magical
Yeah.
and mental. Like I've been around you kind of discovering what your purpose is. And, I was kind of just behind you, or just ahead of you, sorry, in terms of finding out what my purpose was. And it's so funny, isn't it, how the world works and how the universe puts you around people who are going to help you grow and who are going to help you find that purpose. And yeah, it's been amazing to kind of watch your journey from then until now. And you've done so much incredible work with loneliness, haven't you? Like especially over the last year or so.
Yeah, especially over the last year. And thank you so much for that, Nat. And I think it can be quite scary, like if you're passionate about something, especially something so emotional, it can be quite scary speaking about it. So even me, I felt really nervous speaking about myself then,
Yeah.
because I'm touching on parts that are quite vulnerable.
Mm.
But vulnerability can be a superpower, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I think loneliness can feel really shameful to talk about. Um, Even when I wanted to, even before starting, the sessions that I do, I was like, how do I put it out there? How do I connect with people who are feeling lonely, because it's very hard to connect when you're
Mm.
feeling lonely. So
Yeah.
it can be a real vicious circle.
Yeah.
Um, and I know how it feels. I know how it feels to be in that depth of darkness and that void. And I just feel like if I can help someone else, how I've helped myself and help them help themselves, then job's done.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I just want to touch on something you said at the beginning, and you were talking about finding your purpose, and I spoke about that briefly just now. And I think one thing that people it can be, especially with social media, I always relate to social media because I think it's such a big part of our lives. And I actually blame social media for why people are so lonely now. I think it
Mm.
plays a huge, huge, huge role. You know,
Yeah.
you can be in a room filled with 100 people, but you're sat on your phone like this, totally on your own, with a load of people who are on your phone as well, but you're not actually connected to them. You're just observing them. Half of them are making you feel like shit. Like it's a real dangerous territory. I think social media can be incredible, don't get me wrong. Like we're here doing this on through social media. You know, there's a lot of benefits of it 100%, but I also think the reason why people's mental health and all sorts of different things has quite drastically spiraled over the last however many years, last few years, has a lot to do with social media. And on social media, we totally went off on a tangent then. That wasn't what I was going
No,
to talk
go on,
about
love
at
it,
all.
love it, love
But
it.
I was going to say that on social media, there's a lot of stuff at the moment from coaches, you know, finding your purpose. Do you know what your purpose is? What's your passion? No, you need to know what it is. You need to know what it is. And whilst I fully agree with that, and whilst I do believe that the key is finding your purpose and, you know, recognizing what that is, I think it's also really important to not force that and to just focus on what you actually just enjoy doing, the things that you like, because it can be easy to get into this whole spiral of like, I'm so upset, I'm so miserable, I'm so lonely, I'm so sad, I'm so this, I'm so that. I need to find the answer. I need to find the answer. And you almost go off on a tangent trying to fix things when actually the answer is just by doing the little things that you enjoy a little bit more, and then your purpose will come, your passion will come. So I just wanted to make a point on that in that whole finding your purpose thing, because I think a
Yeah.
lot of people might be watching this thinking, I have no idea what my purpose is. How's
Oh,
that going to help me, you know?
it's massive. And I know we are talking about Christmas as well, guys. Don't worry, right?
Yeah.
But this is really important because um per when you feel you don't have purpose, it can make you feel useless.
Mm,
It can make you feel, what's the point? It can make you feel, what am I even here for? You
yeah.
know? Sorry, I've got a mag lamp and I've just looked right into I almost blinded myself. Um, and I used to think that you are here for one thing. So that's why I was like, what career do I go in? What is my purpose? But you're here for many things,
Mm,
honey.
mm,
You are here for many things. You can be a singer, you can be a cook, you can be a cleaner, you can be a dog walker, you can be whatever you want to be. You don't have to be one thing.
mm,
Um, and again, what you said, Nat, it's like finding that joy.
mm.
Yeah, finding that joy. There's so much pressure. Who are you? Who do you want to be? Just be you.
Yeah.
Find your joy. And one thing I heard from a good friend, and it stuck with me, and I hope this resonates with someone else on here. Your purpose is your purpose. What do you think about that, Nat? I would love to know what comes to you from that saying.
That just when you just said that your purpose is your purpose, I was just like, yes. I just had this strong feeling of like it's almost like when you know, you know. Does that make sense? It's like
Yeah.
when you know, you know. It's a feeling. It's a real feeling. And I think that's what goes back to what I was just saying about how you can't force that, you can't rush that.
No.
And it's a journey to
Yeah.
get there.
It is. And it's funny because, you know, there is other stories and I could tell you loads of stories, but obviously, you know, the Soul family story. I won't go too much into that because I will just go off on a tangent.
Yeah.
Not in a million years, not in a million years did I think I would be doing loneliness work.
Yeah.
bane of my life, the curse of my life, pain in the ass of my life, you know.
Yeah.
In a million years did I think I'll be doing that. And do you know how I got to that? Because I was just working on me and discovering myself.
Yeah.
Not discovering everything outside of me. And when I heard your purpose is your purpose, to me, because this is like art, right? When you see it, you take whatever you take from it.
Yeah. What did you take from it? What was your thoughts?
Your purpose is just you being alive.
Yeah.
Your purpose is
Love that. Yeah.
Your purpose is you experiencing all the things you want to experience on this earth. You don't have to be a thing.
Mm.
And again, just finding that joy and what you feel passionate about, and you will get it, but
Yeah.
just make sure that you're not looking too much outside of yourself when actually it's already here. It's already here.
Yeah.
I'm getting deep.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's so powerful, because that's such a different way to how that hit me, that quote. But that's so powerful. I think just to kind of, we'll go on to the Christmassy festive top tips and everything in a sec, but just to kind of round that off, I think, you know, to touch on this festive period and what people are, you know, if people are experiencing loneliness at this moment, which, you know, if you're watching this, then maybe that is something that you're experiencing. Just remember that, like, that would be a top tip, you know, just find the joy in every day, even if it's just for 5 minutes, and it's just for, you know, one thing a day where you're finding your joy. That is going to carry you daily, you know, into feeling better and to feeling good. Don't overthink into the bigger picture, like, oh my God, you know. I think as well, it can be, we overthink, don't we? We often overthink things when it comes to all of this work, when it comes to ourselves. And I think when we have a big period of time like Christmas coming up, it can be easy to like spiral into those negative thoughts, like, oh my God, it's a whole month. It's not even it's more than a whole month, right? Christmas starts in November, 1st of November, pretty much.
Well, for you it does.
Yeah, for me, it starts in July. But you know, it's
the days like a holiday. You do.
Oh, I do. I love it. I love it. But it is a big period of time, right?
Yeah,
And
massive.
people do tend to overthink it. So what I actually have a question for you. What would be your tips surrounding that, in terms of, you know, preparing for the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you know, in general? Do you have any kind of tips surrounding that?
I think so. I loved that you said preparation. Like, preparation is key. It's something that I never did. I would just dread the weekends. I would dread, like, I would not. I would think about Christmas Day and think about all the families coming together, and I would just dread it in a way. I dread driving past restaurants, seeing families having dinners together and wishing that I was there. That's no disrespect to my family. I love you guys, but you know, it's like, but you know, that those times that come up, how are you preparing for that? If you know that Christmas is a hard time for you, and you know that seeing people out together really does make you feel even more lonelier on your own, how can you prepare for that? So again, I have actually got quite a few tips, so we might work like a bit backwards here, but volunteering is amazing. You are on your own this Christmas. Giving is one of the biggest gifts you can give, not only to other people but to yourself. Because if you give of yourself for Christmas, for anything, you know, any kind of volunteering, you're not only helping out, but you're meeting like-minded people as well. So you're going to be surrounded by other people that want to help people. So you're going to feel that connection.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, why we feel disconnected and feel lonely when we're in a room full of people is because we don't connect with any of them, unfortunately. So it's how can you find that connection? So volunteering could be one thing.
Yeah.
If your friends and family don't live nearby, could you set up a FaceTime call? Yeah, so preparation is key.
Mm-hmm.
Does that help?
Yeah, and I was just waiting to see if you're going to say anything more about the volunteering, because I wanted to add something in. I think volunteering and just kind of, I don't want to go as far as saying networking, because I think that's a bit extreme, but volunteering, when you meet people like that, like you said, not only is that connecting with people there and then, but you're also just opening up your network to so many more people. And that ultimately helps with loneliness, doesn't it? And I think if you can find that common ground, which, if you're volunteering in the Christmas period, there's definitely going to be some common ground there. Then that's just so powerful.
Yeah, I can share. So I've written a few things down, how you might be feeling and why you might be feeling lonely, because a lot of people might not actually know that they're feeling lonely.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I'd love to know a bit more about that.
Yeah, so I think I'm trying to think when I've realized I think I've always known I was lonely, to be honest. But I speak to so many people and they go, "Oh my God, I just thought it was just me. I just thought I was being miserable, or I just thought I was an alien.
Yeah.
I didn't know I'm lonely. I just thought I don't know, I'm just being awkward."
Yeah.
No, like that sounds like when they've heard me speak, they're like, "Oh my God, like I'm lonely." So if you're feeling that disconnection with others, if you're feeling that you just don't feel meaningful, you're not getting that meaningful connection, that could be your feelings of loneliness. It's very broad.
Yeah.
So 45% of adults feel lonely in the UK. That's a lot. And I
That's a
reckon it's more than,
lot.
yeah, that's a lot. And I reckon, and that's often and most of the time. Yeah. So there's different stages of loneliness. Like you said about Christmas, some
Yeah.
people don't feel lonely at all.
Yeah.
But it comes to celebratory stuff. Like I used to get really lonely on my birthday. It's weird. I've got friends, but I still feel lonely. I'm just, yeah. Again, another time for that story. But some people,
You should share that stories today. I mean, I think that's really, if you're willing to, because your birthday's December, right?
yeah, my birthday's December.
Your birthday's in the festive season.
I'll let you know my address as well, guys, if you want to send me cards.
We will. We'll all send you everything. Don't worry.
Yeah, I think again, it's that comparison. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Preach.
Is a thief of joy.
Yeah.
So on my birthday, I've just seen how other people celebrate their birthdays, and I want to celebrate my birthday like that.
Yeah.
But I can't because it's in December. People are skint. People are saving for Christmas, or they've got Christmas parties, or one thing or another. And I find that I've done really well past few years, to be honest. I've really connected with that part of me. But I have found my birthday really, I struggled with my birthday. And what I would do is I would do what everyone else wants to do, not think about what I actually want to do on my birthday. I think, what does everyone else want to do? And then I'll plan it like that.
Yeah.
Where would everyone else like to eat? No matter what I want to do, even if I want to eat out, and then we'll plan it around that. I know people want to go to a museum or a gallery, which is what I really wanted to do. I'm a geek. I used to be a rebel, but I am happy to say I'm a geek. I love museums. I love art galleries. Sorry if I'm offending any geeks out there.
Can't offend your own. It's fine.
Yeah, out to the geeks. And yeah, so it's that people pleasing. It's that kind of. But again, what it really came down to really is me not feeling worthy of other people's time. So what I would do is, how can I make myself worthy of your time? Let me make my time your time, and so you might want to spend some time with me. That sounded like a bit of a riddle then.
Do you know what? That's so interesting you're bringing that up now, because I had a session with my, I'm doing my 6-week challenge with my clients at the minute.
Mm.
And our session last week was on the self, and we were talking about self-awareness, self-worth. And, one of the biggest topics that came up was around exactly what you were just talking about, around people pleasing, around setting boundaries. Are you just saying yes for the sake of saying yes? Who do you need to be saying no to? What do you need to be saying no to? And all of that, you can connect all of this to loneliness, because if you're saying yes to things that you don't want to be doing, you're putting yourself in a situation which you don't want to be in, which is going to make you withdraw, which is going to make you feel disconnected, and you're lonely.
Yeah.
So by getting to the bottom of that, and by, realizing your self-worth, and do you know what, Lena, self-worth is a massive topic. It's like, honestly, like even me, who has done a lot of personal development, and I would value my self-worth high, I still face things sometimes and I'm like, why am I allowing that? What am I doing? But it's such a strong, deep thing within us
Yeah.
that even if if people like me and you, who have done a shit ton of work on ourselves, are still experiencing it, for the people that haven't done any self-development or any personal development, like, it's so important to share this information,
Oh,
because it's such a big thing, and it affects the decisions that we make every single day. It affects our reality,
yeah.
knowing our self-worth.
It does, and I would be bold enough to say I think everything comes down to self-worth.
100%, I agree.
Everything, everything,
Everything.
everything. Like, if you don't feel worthy enough, then you're not going to make those friends that you want. If you don't feel worthy enough, you're not going to get that money that you want. If you don't, it comes down to that. But it's being kind to yourself, because that comes from a place, yeah. And the reason why we say yes to a lot of things is because we want to belong, man. So we would even put our own authenticity at risk because we still want to belong to something, to someone.
Yeah.
And as you said, you'd go home. I've actually felt the loneliest around people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I go home and I'm just like,
Yeah.
It comes down, it does definitely come down to that, but also like just doing that, just asking those questions. So going back to 45% of adults feel lonely in the UK. That's the people that are admitting that they're lonely.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Yeah.
Right? Research that Mind has done, a third of people are too embarrassed to say they're lonely. I've definitely been there. Definitely been there. How can I be lonely? I thought it was just old people that got lonely. Actually, sorry, old people. I'm really one with words. Wise people, the elderly. Actually, recent research shows that the loneliest generation are 16 to 24-year-olds.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
It does not surprise me. It does not surprise me. If you think about all the pressure that is out there to be a certain somebody, to fit in, to look like this, to do that, there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. And that sorry to interrupt just quickly, but that age group, 16 to 24, are the generation that grew up when social media became the norm.
Yeah.
We're in our 30s and we just skipped that. Like, social media came into our lives when we were like 18, 19. So we still had a childhood, we still had our teens, we still made those friendships, those real connections with people in real life when we were at school, when we were at college, when we were at uni. These kids these days haven't had that. Like, even my stepson, my nieces, everybody glued to iPads.
Yeah.
Like, it's the norm.
Yeah.
It's the norm.
Unfortunately, it's the way society has gone.
Mm.
But again, it's just finding that how can we do more in the community? How can we come out of our comfort zone and go and meet in person rather than
Yeah.
and it even, I know it sounds silly, but even coming down to voice noting,
Yeah.
like that, there's no connection there. You're basically leaving each other voicemails.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
pick up the phone rather than voice noting, you know, things like that. But it just shows like this is a real thing. It's not just, oh, I feel lonely. Like this is a real thing, and it doesn't just affect you mentally, it affects you physically as well. So
Yeah.
something that you feel on a prolonged basis, it's definitely something to I would recommend, if I may, to work on. But you know, doing some self-discovery work. Life will change. My life has completely changed, and I'm actually grateful for it. I'm grateful for all those years of darkness and pain and hurt and the cries and the tears and the drinking myself to feel nothing and all types of things, and my drinking myself to feel, you know, to be part of people and whatnot. And it can feel quite shameful. It can feel quite shameful feeling the way you feel. So these are some of the things that you might be experiencing now. So this might be your first Christmas without someone you love. Okay. And that might be a loss. You know, you might have lost a family member, or it might be a loss of relationship. This could be you're dreading seeing families and friends together as you're celebrating alone. You might feel lonely in a room full of people. You might feel lonely in a room full of people with your family and friends and just not feel that connection. Children being older and lost the magic. And I know a lot of parents are feeling that. And and the pressure as well. Wishing you were part of a family. Okay, these are all the things that could be creating your loneliness at the moment. The pressure, the shortage of money, the cost of living. I work very closely with Citizens Advice, and the cost of living is ridiculous right now, and people are really struggling. And actually, the people that are struggling the most are self-employed. Self-employed people on benefits are minus £34 deficit on universal credit. So this Christmas time, right, where you're going out with friends and people are meeting up and it's uncertain and you're buying presents and things like that, can really create feelings of loneliness.
Yeah.
Because you might not be able to go out with your friends because you've only got a tenner in the bank. And that's why you buy your children a present. You know, so these feelings are natural. And my question would be, so I mean, Nat spoke about maybe having some journaling prompts and questions to ask yourself is, what is creating your loneliness? Is any of the above, which I mentioned, creating your loneliness, or is it something else? Sitting with yourself, no distraction. What is creating my loneliness? Okay, just be as honest and open as you can. Remember, it's you're talking to. Yeah. You know yourself more than anybody. Once you can write down what is creating your loneliness, then we can prepare for it. Going back to that initial question, how can we prepare? So if it's, this may be your first Christmas without someone you love, why don't you print out a lovely picture of them that you remember, and just remember all the good memories, if you can, all the love that you shared, light a candle and speak to that picture just as if they are there, you know. If you're short of money, which I'm sure a lot of us are right now, and you still want to see people, why don't you actually suggest, you know what, guys, instead of buying presents this year, why don't we give each other our time? Because that's one thing you can't buy. You can't buy time, guys. You cannot buy time. And, you know, spending quality time, not time on your phone, like quality time with someone, meeting up, quality time. Suggest that, because you know what? Your friends might be feeling the same. You might thinking, shit, I've got to get so and so a present, and I usually buy their kids presents, and oh my
Mm.
God, this is stressing me out, and it's creating these feelings. And actually, why don't you think they might be thinking, oh my God, I've got to buy Lucy a present, and I bought the kids presents, and I haven't got enough to buy the turkey, and but I'm so used to giving them a present.
Yeah.
Actually, suggest, why don't we give each other time this year? It's much more meaningful.
Yeah. And make some memories at the same time.
Yeah, make some memories. The other thing I've got written down is accepting your feelings. Like, don't try and close them off. Don't beat yourself up. Don't shame yourself. Be kind to yourself. Accept your feelings. That's the first thing you could do. Accept your feelings. And then ask yourself, what can I change? What can I change and what can't I change? Right? So, right, admitting I'm feeling lonely. Okay. That reason might be, say, like, for example, I'll give you a little story about myself very quickly. My dad's situation, which Nat knows very much about.
Yeah.
Love seeing people with their dads. I used to hate it. I used to get jealous. I used to feel angry. I used to feel, why don't I have my dad? But I've accepted it now. I've accepted those feelings, and that's okay. That's just the way life is for me.
Mm.
I can't change that. I can't force my dad to sit down with me at a table and eat dinner with me. I just can't. Okay. So I know that being angry, seeing people with their dads and stuff like that, and jealous, isn't actually going to help me or change my situation. So I accept it. What can I do about it?
Mm-hmm.
I know this might be a bit much for people right now, but what I can do is, you know what? That's amazing. They get time with their dads. That's amazing. They get to make those memories, and just look on in gratitude and just be happy for other people.
Mm.
Because I can't change it. I can't change. There's no point me rooming on about it and creating those lonely feelings and creating that disconnect when there's nothing I can do about it. So it's about, knowing what you can change and knowing what you can't change. Do things about the things you can change. And if you can't change it, just accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Accept it as much as you can and create what you want.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on that, Nat, about
Oh my God, I love that. That's so powerful. And I think just what you were just saying about focusing on what you can change, like that's one of my biggest tips in mindset in general. If we're just talking about, improving your mindset and personal development and growth and feeling your best, it's focusing on what you can control. That's it.
Yeah.
If the minute you start spending time focusing on what you can't control, you're just getting yourself into a worse feeling. And I know that can be easier said than done sometimes. Don't get me wrong, I'm very aware of that. But that doesn't change the facts. And we're here to try and help and give our tips on how to feel better, and definitely avoiding focusing your energy on what you can't control and just focusing on what you can control is always a winner. And like you were saying, Lena, like, you switched your mindset from looking at people with their dads and having those feelings of jealousy and anger and sadness, all of those feelings which you just mentioned there, which are totally natural to have in that situation, given your situation with your dad. And, those are all perfectly natural feelings, but all those feelings are the lowest vibrational frequency that you can have within your body and that you can give out to the universe. So the fact, and we know other people may not know yet, but we're going to tell you now, whatever you give out is what you get back. So whether it's due to loneliness, whether it's due to jealousy, whether it's due to anger or sadness, when you're feeling those feelings and you're putting them out there, you're going to get more of it back to you. So the fact that you switched that up, Lena, and you're now having feelings of love and sending love and gratitude, the total opposite end of the spectrum, the two highest frequencies when it comes to vibration, and you're just in a much more peaceful place. Yeah. And I think that's really, really powerful. And just one more thing I wanted to add was you were talking about journaling. And this is a bit more of like a general tip when it comes to journaling. In terms of action steps, is just to make sure that you're doing it pen to paper, and you're not doing it on your laptop and you're not doing it on your phone, because, or an iPad or something. When you're doing it pen to paper, your brain works in a different way. Different things come from different parts of the brain, and the results that you get from doing that exercise pen to paper is totally different to when you're doing it on a phone or whatever. Like I always say, I could be sat here, I could be talking, like, say something to me, Lena, just talk to me, right? Say anything now.
I'm having an amazing time, even
Are
though I was
you?
surrounded by the lights.
Are you having a good time?
Yeah, great time.
What is it that you're doing?
I'm talking to you, but you seem to be on your phone.
Yeah, I am. Okay, so I was actually just writing a message to somebody. I haven't sent it, I've deleted it. But I was able to write a text message whilst listening to you, whilst talking to you, because my brain is not fully engaged in that. It's not fully engaged in that either, but I can hear, and it's all working at once. When you're sitting here like this and you're really thinking and you're writing, if you were talking to me, I would have to be like, what's that? It's just different.
Yeah.
So that was just a tip I wanted to give surrounding journaling at any time. Make sure, and any form of work that you do on yourself, like the only time I would say use something digital is if you're writing notes for something, like, you know, personal notes. But in terms of doing your gratitude and your journaling and all the personal development work, always pen to paper.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more. And you know what? Like, this work ain't easy, guys. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. It's not easy, but it's worth it. It's 100% worth it. So taking that time to journal.
Yeah.
I've like written things out and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I've answered my own question that I've been trying to figure out for so bloody long.
Yeah.
I've journaled stuff that I didn't even realize was inside of me. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But I do remember when Mandy, our coach, said to journal, and I was like, what do you mean journal? Journal my feelings. Where do I start that? Dear diary, you know. And I started off with writing the word anger because that was the first thing that came up.
Yeah.
And it all just come out. And honestly, it's so powerful, guys. And it doesn't have to be boring. Stick a candle on, light some incense, stick some tunes on, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe not tunes that get you singing along, because you'll probably end up writing the lyrics. I have actually done that one.
Yeah.
So I don't listen to music too much now when I'm journaling. Anything that's coming to you, anything that's bothering you lately, get it out. How much you feel so much lighter. I journal every day. Okay. And I just want to go back as well to what you said, Nat, about, you know, like changing those feelings. Changing those feelings wasn't easy. I'm not saying it's easy.
No.
Okay. And we're not saying it's easy. We're not saying toxic positivity now, like be positive all the time. Don't listen to yourself. You know, actually, no, it's really important that you listen to yourself, but it's really important where you're putting that focus as well.
Yeah.
Listen to that self, but also focus on the things that you do want and you do want to create and how you do want to feel.
Yeah.
So like with the gratitudes, I do gratitudes every evening, and it gets into that good feeling place. And that could be, I'm grateful for my pen. I do remember once upon a time when someone said, well, what are you grateful for? And I wanted to punch them in the face.
Yeah.
That's what I'm grateful for right about
Yeah.
now. I didn't do the work then. I wasn't doing the work. And it can feel when someone's like, oh, but be grateful. Look what you have got. Actually, that's not helpful. It
Yeah.
is to some respects, but actually it's really important that we acknowledge how we feel, but we try to focus on a better feeling for, basically. Try to focus on a better feeling for.
100%. And we were having a conversation earlier, weren't we, Lena, about all this stuff. And just what you're saying there leads on to what we were saying, where ultimately we create our reality. We create our thoughts, create our reality. So as much as like what you were saying, Lena, you know, it's not easy, and it's not all about, okay, just say your gratitude every day and you're going to feel better. Like, no, that's not going to be the case. But doing your gratitude every day, along with trying to think in a slightly more positive way, along with changing your daily habits, along with finding your joy, along with, when you do all of these things over a long period of time, that's when the magic happens.
Yeah.
But you have to be committed to the process of that. And I think that's really, really important. I think it's really important for us to let people know that, you know, it's not an overnight thing. You're not going to wake up, if you're feeling like shit today, you're not going to wake up tomorrow, do your gratitude and feel like you're $1 million. That's not what happens. But if you are committed to yourself and you are committed to these processes, which are going to make you feel better, you will get there. It may take years, but every single day you will feel a little bit better, even if it's just a smidgen. And all of that over time, the repetition, you know, with the mindset work especially, you know, repetition is key. Repetition is what changes what's going on up here. You know, all this work that, you know, we've done so much on this, Lena, haven't we? Like, all of this work is reprogramming. What you're ultimately doing is you're reprogramming your mind. You're thinking differently. You're choosing a new way to see things and your outlook. And that all comes down to repetition.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can sometimes be quite like, the matter of fact is, but I do that from a place of like, because I know it works.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for people to understand that the factual side of it in terms of how your brain actually works, because we have got total control over that. And we don't always remember that, especially when times are tough. But we fully do have control over that, and it's important to remember.
Yeah, and that's such an important message, Nat. Thank you. And I have to remind myself, trust me, I go into spirals. Trust me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we all do. I still do sometimes.
I still go back to those old thought patterns. I
Yeah.
still get lonely. Just because I'm working within loneliness doesn't mean I don't get lonely, but because I know I've got the tools, I know how to alleviate my loneliness. I know how to understand it. Okay, actually, no, I need time on my own. I need solitude to connect with myself. I need walk in nature. Yeah, I know when I need a walk in nature, and I know when I need a hug from that.
Yeah.
So it's being able to know what you need, and that comes to understanding yourself.
Yeah.
And tapping in, like being aware. I have got some tips to share after, and we can go on to that. But being aware of what you say to yourself every day. What are your beliefs? What are the beliefs? What do you believe of yourself? Are they true? Are they helpful? You know, are you saying to yourself, no one's going to want to be around me anyway, I'm a burden? Is that true? Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Maybe question that. Think about all the good things about you. Yeah. So it's again, what are those patterns? What are those thoughts that are going over and over again? Because as Nat said, the more you say those things to yourself, that's what's creating your reality. We all have our own worldview. How do you want to create how you feel this Christmas? And it can be done, guys. Trust me. it can be done. I
Mhm.
promise you, we wouldn't be on this call if we didn't, we're not getting paid for this. We don't need to do this, but we're very passionate and we care about people and we've been there. So
Yeah.
we're sharing what we know. And there is so much neuroscience behind this. This isn't just waffle and woo-woo. It's a thing.
Mm.
It's a thing.
Yeah. I think that's what you've just said there is just, I want to just emphasize that because I've come across a lot of people, and it's funny actually, because it's usually the people that you're closest to, actually, I always find that don't want to necessarily take the advice. And I think it's really important to remember that it is science. Like these things that we're saying is not just made up from a book that someone thought, oh, this might work. There's evidence, scientific evidence that your brain works in certain ways, and these things which we're telling you and these exercises that we're giving you to do evidently change the way that your brain works. And I think it's important to emphasize that, because I think sometimes people get caught up on the whole, oh, trust the universe and do this and do that, but actually you're literally reprogramming your brain in a scientific way and the rest falls into place.
You've got to be proactive. You know
Yeah.
what? My laptop's going to run out. Bear with me 2
Okay.
seconds.
But yeah, I'll just keep talking whilst Lena's gone off to get her charger. But when Lena gets back, we will go through. Lena has got some more top tips which she's going to share before we finish. But we have also had some questions come in from a few people who have sent us some questions on Instagram. So I will be asking Lena those questions shortly when she returns. And then we will see what else Lena has to say. Oh, perfect timing.
So professional.
Professional. So Lena,
Professional.
can I dig into some questions which we've had come in?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Are you ready?
I am ready.
You are ready.
Born ready.
Okay. You've kind of answered this one, but not in much detail. So maybe you can go into it a bit more. So the first question: can I feel lonely around friends and family? So I know you have spoken about that, but do you want to just talk a bit more about how that's possible? Because I think that's quite a common thing.
Very common. So with loneliness, one meaning around it is when you can feel disconnected from others, even when they're right next to you. So it happens when we have a mismatch between the quantity and quality of social relationships that we have and those that we want. So what relationships have you got at the moment that you have? Do they actually match with what you want? Are you speaking about things that you want to speak about? You might be really interested in space. Do you speak about anyone? Do you speak about space to anyone? Yeah. Are your friends interested in what you're interested in? It's just taking a step back, like, do these relationships fulfill me? And I don't want to say cut people off, because that's not what this is all about, but it's finding what you enjoy speaking about and bringing that to the table. If you are not, once you've done that, if you're not able to speak and you're not finding it being reciprocated, you're not finding it's landing, maybe it's finding other people that you can connect those conversations with. It's really important that you have conversations that you find meaning in. Does that answer that?
Yeah, no, it does, for sure. And I just want to add to that. I think all of that, like as part of that whole process, if not before, goes back down to what you were saying earlier, Lena, about getting to know yourself.
Yes.
Because on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you fully know yourself and you're happy with yourself and you're at peace with yourself, you can be in a room totally on your own and feel the happiest, most peaceful, content you've ever felt, which is the total opposite of that. And there's a really, I can't remember where I read this. It was in a book that I read a couple of years ago, and it always stuck with me. And it was relating to, it was talking about, do you like spending time on your own? If not, then why not? You need to get to know yourself, like all that whole theme. And it compared it to, imagine you meet somebody new, a romantic partner, for example, and you wouldn't just automatically expect that you know them as a person after one date with them. You would go on a second date and a third date and a fourth date and a fifth date. And the more you spend time with people, the more you then, sorry, the more you spend time with people, the more you get to know that person. And you cannot form a close bond with somebody unless you've spent a lot of quality time with them. So how can you expect to get to know yourself when you haven't spent any quality time with yourself? And if you compare it like that, it's quite mind-blowing actually when you do compare it like that. And I think that's really important. So, if you are somebody, because there's a lot of people that hate spending time on their own.
There's a study done by Jay Shetty, and it was, you get a choice, he asked these men and women to either sit with your thoughts for 15 or 20 minutes or have an electric shock on your finger.
Yeah.
So there was a crazy percentage of people that chose more to have the electric shock than sitting with their own thoughts.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, this can be crazy living up in this place, but this is the thing, it's about understanding it.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, that the self, like understanding yourself, because if you don't understand yourself and what you really want, and you find it hard to be with yourself, you're always going to find it hard to be with others.
Yeah.
No matter where you go.
Yeah.
I literally tried, just going back to that whole belonging thing, I've moved so many times, or maybe I'll be there, maybe I'll be there. I have felt the same everywhere I go because it's my home. I'm my home. So if I'm not feeling content within, I'm never going to feel content without. I'm never going to have that without. So it's really important that what you said is getting to know yourself, date yourself, find what you like. And if you're finding when you're with friends you're feeling lonely, maybe invite them to your world. So if your friends aren't into yoga and things like that, but you are, maybe suggest, do you want to, should we go to a yoga session? Or if you're not a drinker, so we're talking about Christmas, I'm going off on to yoga stuff and all sorts.
No, this is all important now.
Good. I've not drank for 3 months, right? And I'm choosing that, and there's no judgment. If you drink, you drink. Like, I love a red wine, but at the moment I'm choosing not to drink. And one of the things I am struggling with is being around those circles. Because I'm not going to be drinking. I went to a boxing match a couple of weeks ago and I wasn't drinking, and I did feel quite disconnected. And I almost had a drink just to fit in, just to feel like I'm with everybody. So actually maybe creating events or time that you like, and bringing people into your world. So, around Christmas, maybe it's going for a walk in the woods. And just to say, research has been done that nature alleviates loneliness by up to 29%.
Wow.
Right? So your friends might even be lonely, not even tell you, because, a third of us don't talk about it, remember? So I would suggest, if you're feeling lonely in the room for the people, maybe it's because you don't want to be in that kind of environment. I would suggest maybe you suggesting something, bringing them into your world, but also spending that time on yourself as well. Why am I feeling like that? Always come back to yourself. Why am I feeling like that?
Yeah, love that. Thanks, Lena. My next question, this is quite a to the point question, and I know what the answer is, but I'd love you to explain why. So the next question is, does being lonely mean there is something wrong with me?
No. Being lonely means that there's something within you that you haven't connected with yet. It's exciting.
Love
I mean,
that.
I'm not putting loneliness down, by the way, because I have felt the depths of the darkness. Okay. And I know how deep it can feel. But do you know the beauty of loneliness? It can be a gift. It can be a gift because it could be speaking to you like, listen to me. I want you to connect with this. There's a need here that's not being met.
Mm.
Really want to go to the theatre. Why are you not going to the theatre? You know, you really want to do that, join that art class, but you're choosing to sit in the pub and have a few beers. Again, no judgment, because a lot of people like to do that. But if you actually don't like to do that and you want to do something else, there's nothing wrong with you if you're feeling feelings of loneliness. It's very natural. Okay. And just to give you a little bit more science research or whatever it may be, I've read a lot of books and I'm going to give you some book recommendations as well. If so, we've still got this reptilian part of our brain, right? And it's just layered with different parts now. Back in the day, if you was to do something in the tribe, what would happen to you? What would happen to you, Nat? If you was to do something wrong in a tribe or a community back in the
Get
day,
killed?
get killed or worse, be banished.
Oh, goodness, bloody hell.
Yeah, because you had to survive in community.
Mm.
Do things alone. You survive in community. If you look at the poorest places in the world, they're the happiest people because
Yeah.
they're in community. They've all got a job.
Yeah.
They've all got a role. They all come together.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling banished from the community, if you don't feel part of the community, that's why it can feel so deep. That's why it can feel that there's something wrong with you because you're not part of anything.
Mm.
There totally isn't anything wrong with you. Okay, there's a gift in it, and I can't wait for you to find it. Whoever asked that question.
That's amazing. It's like, it's an opportunity, isn't it? It's like, yeah, wow.
It's
I love
how
that.
it's how you look at it.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Amazing. I've got one more question, Lena, and then I'll let you wrap it up with your tips. But my last question, is there a difference between being lonely and being alone? Great question. And I'm going to add to that is, how do you know the difference?
Okay. So it's funny because I've done the L word today, and that's one of the questions I ask.
Oh, really?
Let's throw people. Yeah. So being alone, you're physically alone. Okay. So you're physically alone. There's no one else around. Being lonely, you could be with a room full of people.
Yeah.
You feel alone, alone.
Yeah.
It's funny because when you are feeling lonely, you feel very much alone. You feel like you are the only one in the room that feels this way.
Yeah.
You look out to the world and there's everyone having such a great time and you're the only one who's not. So there is a difference. Physically alone when you've got no one around you, which could be also classed as, isolation, because
Yeah.
there's between isolation and loneliness as
Yeah.
well. Isolation is when you don't see anybody. Again, loneliness is feeling connected with
Yeah.
it, people you're with, the relationships you have and the relationships you want not meeting. That's loneliness.
Yeah. And I guess that also kind of comes back to what we were saying about like enjoying your own company, because even if you are alone and you're noticing, okay, yes, you're alone, and that's not necessarily that you're you're feeling lonely, but if you are alone and you're noticing that you're on your own and you're having those thoughts of feeling lonely, then that's, I guess, something to look into, because there's obviously some feelings there which maybe need to be, looked into from that point of view in terms of loneliness.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously loneliness is subjective and being alone is objective. So
Objective, yeah.
it's that's the difference.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you, Lena. I'll hand
Okay.
it over to you to continue.
Thank you. I could talk about this all
I
day.
know, me too.
9:07.
I know.
How
I was just looking at the time. I was like, we've been on here for an hour.
no, sorry guys, but yeah, this is the value that we get. Well,
Exactly. It's fine.
hopefully.
Lots of value.
So just going back to what we were saying before, we can change our beliefs at any time. Okay. We have all the tools within us. We are our biggest guru. It's just knowing how to use them. It's just knowing how to use them, like we said earlier, not just thinking about it and manifesting it. It's actually how can we be proactive? Okay. So like we spoke about earlier, preparing. So you've got these events, you know, people are going to be going out and stuff like that. How can you prepare? What can you book in between now and Christmas? So you know when those weekends are coming up, you've got something to look forward to. Looking forward to something is really, really important.
Yeah.
Really, really important. Something to look forward to that you enjoy. And if you don't know what you enjoy, you will find what you enjoy. This is the time to go into self-discovery. You know, try different things. Try things that you haven't tried for the first time. You might not like it, but at least you know you don't like it. Then you can try something else.
Can I just quickly add on that, Lena, just before you go on to your next one? I think it's important for that on that point as well to remember that those things can, and I actually recommend some of those things to be on your own. Do those things on your own, even if it feels a bit uncomfortable. You know, one of those things might be going for a really lovely long walk outdoors on your own. You know, I think doesn't have, you know, when we say let's plan things, that doesn't mean let's call loads of people up and do whatever. It's just finding the things that you want to do on your own. I just wanted to add that in.
No, thank you for adding that, because the type of work I do personally is a lot. I give a lot. I give an awful lot, and I'm happy to do that. Like I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But actually, it's really important to spend time on your own. So those things to look forward to. Like for me, I went for a nice long walk on Saturday, and I loved that because I felt I'd done something for myself rather than sitting in the house. And so, like Nat said, definitely it doesn't have to be with somebody else, but it's just understanding. And anyone, please feel free to reach out to me after this call. It's understanding when I need social connection, and actually when I need that solitude. What is it that I need? When you figure that out, it makes life so much easier, because you're like, okay, no, I need to fill my cup. I need to fill my cup, and then I can be with others and overpour onto others. So really good point, Nat. I love this quote. I just got to share this quote with you. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So I would encourage to just maybe have a look at the way you look at things around this time of year. How are you speaking to yourself? How are you looking at things? Because when you do change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I swear to you, it does. One of the things that I stopped telling myself is that I'm lonely, even though I was feeling that, but I was saying it all the time, but not doing anything about it. Okay, I'm lonely. I feel like my friends aren't reaching out to me, but hold on a second, Lena, what are you doing? When's the last time you called a friend? Oh yeah, it's very true. You know, so it's how are we speaking to ourselves? What are we saying to ourselves? Building confidence. If you can build confidence doing the things that you want to do, I know a lot of the time around loneliness is feeling like you can't, or you don't want to, or you've got a fear of rejection. That is actually trying to keep you safe. But again, we can go on to that another time if we do another call. So how can you build confidence? how can you build confidence? Maybe starting conversations. There's so many YouTube videos out there. There's so many books. What do you want to build confidence in, and then go from there?
Mhm.
Affirmations. What are we saying to ourselves? What are we saying to ourselves? Like we've already said that before. Replacing one limiting belief with a positive one that we want. So say like I was like, oh, trying to think of one.
I feel really lonely all the time.
Yeah, I feel really lonely all the time. Yeah, I do feel like that, but is that how I want to feel all the time? So I am connecting with new people. I am finding my tribe. I can't wait to find my tribe. I can't wait to do the things I really want to do with people. I can't wait to find like-minded people, or I am finding like-minded people. It's the way you word it, but it has to feel something to you. So whatever it is that you want to feel, write that out, stick it on a post-it note, stick it all around your house. We can maybe do a session on that now,
Yeah.
or I'm happy to share. And reaffirm that to yourself. What is it that you want to create? What feelings do you want to create around Christmas? Who are you wanting to meet? Who do you want to spend time with? What is it that you actually really want to do? Focusing on that rather than what you're not doing, because focusing on what you're not doing is keeping you what you're not doing.
Yeah.
Spending time in nature, again, as we said, and finding out what's on in your area. Like going back to the volunteering. So I'm looking at volunteering myself. You might have a skill. Like I'm a beauty therapist as well. And I'm looking at maybe volunteering my services at Crisis, maybe Christmas Eve and Boxing Day. Not quite sure yet. We've all got skills. We've all got stuff to share. We don't, even if you haven't got necessarily like a trade like that, you could take part in volunteering and helping to connect with others, helping yourself to connect, doing something good for the community. Finding out what hobbies are around, what gyms are around, what is it you want to try. I know this might be a lot of repetitive stuff, guys, because I know we've gone over quite a bit. But yeah, finding out what's on in your area, on Facebook groups, on the community groups, and just going onto the social media. Really think about how you're using your social media. If you're scrolling and it's leaving you feeling like shit after, don't do it. Don't do it. I've done it. I've seen Stacey Solomon with her family and wishing that I had that. I've seen all the pajamas and their matching pajamas and them sitting eating pies, watching Home Alone. Yeah, and the thing is, it can bring up like, oh, and there's me sitting on my own with Frankie playing his grime music next door, and I'm just sitting there drinking a hot chocolate.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you hadn't have seen that post on social media, you would be enjoying that moment.
Yeah,
before you compared it.
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So it's, how am I going to use social media this Christmas? If you're feeling like actually it just leaves me feeling like shit, I would recommend having a break.
Yeah.
I would recommend having a break. Or how do you want to use it? Who are you following actually? Like, do you want to follow these people? See how you can create your own connection through social media. And there's lots of groups out there. There's so many great posts on Instagram in helping people feel good in themselves. Inspiration. How do you want to feel using socials? And then lastly, I'd like to recommend some books if you're a bit of a bookworm like me.
Go on.
This has really helped me on my journey. Okay, this is before this. One of the best books I've read is called Becoming Human. It's by Jean Vanier.
Oh.
I don't even know if that's how you say it, but I can share it again, like with your community or whoever else wants it.
Yeah.
So that's Becoming Human. There's a book called Towards a Meaningful Life by Simon Jacobson. And The Anatomy of Loneliness by Till Swan. Great book. I actually had it as an Audible. I listened to it on the way to Scotland, and I had some massive mind-blowing moments. And then if you want to get deep in the nitty-gritty, like proper science, social biology, there's a book called Loneliness, which I go back to all the time, by John T. Cassiopo. John T. Cassiopo is called Loneliness,
Yeah.
and it gives you like a lot of the science and why you might be feeling the way you do, and helping to, when you come to those feelings of wanting to connect with people but feeling like you can't and you're better off without them, actually it's showing you why you're doing that, because you're trying to protect yourself from rejection.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. So if you do have those thoughts, by the way, if you do want to do something, if you actually really do want to do something, but then you're making up excuses of, I'm better off alone and stuff like that, actually that's the time to push through and go, do you know what, no, I'm going to put myself out there, and I'm gonna pass that barrier, pass those challenges.
Self-sabotage. That goes does
Self
self-sabotage.
Yes, and it happens. There's so much around this why we feel the way we do, and honestly, the best thing you can do for yourself is ask yourself some questions, do some self-discovery, find out where your challenges are and your barriers are, and then work through them. There is so much out there that you can get support with.
Yeah, I'm actually doing a massive session tomorrow night within my challenge all about procrastination and self-sabotage, because it's something which I witness a lot in the health and wellness space. And people aren't even aware that they're doing it, and it's just such a common theme. And I just want to add two book recommendations from me as well. So just following on from your scientific theme, science and how the brain works and all of that. Joe Dispenza is incredible, and he's got a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, which I highly recommend. And on a kind of opposite end of the spectrum, there's a book called Worthy by Nancy Levine, which was one of the first personal development books I read before I even dug into this space properly myself. It was one that my coach recommended to me back in 2018. And actually, I started reading that because I was doing a lot of work on myself surrounding a unhealthy relationship that I was in and out of for a while. And it was such a powerful book. So those would be my top two tips surrounding all of this stuff as well.
I love that. I'm definitely writing that one down. And honestly, breaking the habit of being yourself or becoming yourself is amazing, because that delves right into your thought processes, why you are the way you are.
Yeah.
And it literally unlearns everything that you've ever known.
Yeah. And literally tells you how.
And how. And that's the thing, it's the practicalities. What I would say, again, just try and be proactive. Loneliness can feel all-consuming, and it really can feel like it's going to last forever, but I promise you, it doesn't have to. It really doesn't have to. Just know that there is the support out there. It's just taking that little action bit at a time, and hopefully you can feel more connection this Christmas. Make it a different Christmas for yourself, because you deserve it, man. You can create the life you want. Always remember that.
Love that, Lena. What a beautiful way to end. So true. So true. Thank you so much, Lena, for jumping on and talking about all of this powerful and essential stuff that we need. We need to be talking about this. And I think it's really important, whether it's loneliness or any other issues that we feel that we're going through as humans, we need to normalize talking about it openly and regularly. And there's the support is out there. Like Lena said, whether you want to contact Lena directly, if I can help you in any way, like just reach out to the people who know what they know, which will help you, because that's what we're here for.
Yeah, we've done the work. We've done the work. We can help as any way we can, and we know how hard it is. So done the work. We're here for you. We're here for you. I'm going to stop.
We are here. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And Lena, do you want to, when we've posted this on Facebook, do you want to just post your contact details and stuff underneath? So if anyone does want to get in touch, they know where to find you.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And you'll probably see our faces back soon. Who knows? Thank you, Lena. See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.